In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do sample number 13, in which they are called pin tucks. So let me show you how to get started. So first you're going to get a template like this, and as per usual, you need to mark the grain. So the grain needs to go this way, so you can just use these lines and to draw a parallel grain line as a note for yourself. And then you, of course, need to cut out this pattern piece, so it looks something like this with the grain line, and then you go ahead and get your fabric out and place it on the fabric. Okay, so once you've cut out your piece, you'll need to have your fabric ready. Make sure you found the grain. I did a little rip test and align the pattern on there. And then I think I'm going to choose to directly pin the pattern to my fabric. And then of course you will need to trace these lines onto the fabric. So again, you can get some of the red tracing paper and use the tracing wheel to make a few marks like here, here, and here. Do not just use the tracing wheel along the whole line, or you will basically perforate the line and break the paper apart. Or you can use my method. You just make some marks on both sides, you know, and then just connect the lines with a ruler. So whatever suits you, just go ahead and get your fabric traced and marked. Okay, so once you have drawn all your lines, so basically the result we want to end up with is this. So it's kind of similar to like the box pleats, but we're not gonna, you know, iron them flat. Instead, we're going to leave them in this little flap shape. So these big sections become the peaks here. So before you start ironing, I recommend that you just start folding with your fingers. So find the bottom of one line, match it on the other side. Same thing over here. And just kind of prep yourself. Like that. Perfect. Okay, same thing here. Find it. Find it. Okay. And yeah, so basically just do that on these 4 peaks, and then we'll go to the iron. Alright, so I finished just kind of hand folding them. And now I'm just going to make it really easy on myself and iron these folds, because it's going to make pinning so much easier. So notice I'm really just trying to catch the edge here. I don't need to spread the iron over the whole thing, because I want to keep the other hand folds that I did as much as possible. Okay, so I did one. And this is where that will come in very critically. Put the one I already ironed over there, and then just catch this edge here. Okay, great. Now those are even more defined. Same thing. Okay, and one more. Okay, perfect. So now I have ironed these, and it's gonna be much easier to pin these little tucks together for sewing. So let me show you how to pin them now. All right, when it comes to pinning, if you're right-handed, I recommend you start with the rightmost one, because then you'll sew down that way, then you'll sew that one, and then that one, and so on and so forth. And so if you're left-handed, then you might start over here. First and foremost, just kind of flatten out this tuck right here. And again, I know I'm sewing top down. I'm right-handed and I want to pull out the pins this way, so I'm going to go ahead and throw a pin here. And I highly recommend again that you just do this one tuck at a time, because as you can see, this pin is so long that it's trying to flatten the second tuck, so it's just going to be a lot easier if you do them one at a time. And so I'm only going to throw in maybe 4 pins. I don't really need that many because the ironing helped a lot. And so you drew these guidelines, and so you should be able to just very easily start here, back stitch, and go down all the way, back stitch, and that is your first tuck. And then then you would move on to the second one. So let me show you. Okay, so I officially sewed the first tuck here, as you can see, and pretty straight along the line there. So then you just go ahead and move on to the second one, and it might get a little more tricky, but I recommend that you just fold all the previous fabric underneath and off to the side so that you can pin. And I might just do pin at the top, make sure they're still lining up. Yep, pin at the bottom, and maybe just a pin in the middle. So yes, as you can see on the back here, there was that previous tuck. I'm just shoving it off to the side. And so I should be able to sew the second one down without it catching, anything unnecessary underneath. So just be very mindful when you're sewing, don't accidentally catch this while you're sewing, or you will have to undo it and then redo it. So then I'll show you what the second one looks like. Okay, so I just finished doing my second one, and I do want to emphasize that it's probably going to be a lot harder to do the second, third, and fourth one, just because when you are sewing like this bulk on one side wants to push your needle this way, and I even still struggle a little bit. So as you can see, especially in the middle section, it was very hard to stay on the line, and I kind of had to try and go back a little bit and get more on the line. So highly recommend you take this very slowly when you're sewing, and you might, instead of just guiding the fabric like you might usually, you might really need to, on both sides, make sure you're kind of grabbing onto the fabric and forcing it to stay on the line. So be very slow when you're doing this. Try your best to stay on that pencil line, and try your best to be as straight as possible. And then this is what the second one will look like. So then you would just keep going until you have all 4. This one still only has 3. But that is pretty much how you do a pin tuck. And then since it's kind of wobbly, I recommend that you just kind of iron them flat to one side, and then you could kind of iron them flat to the other side, and that kind of just gets out the wobbly wrinkles.